I want to talk about Chase Bank. This is JP Morgan Chase, and its continuing efforts to debank or remove accounts of people whose opinions that don't fit in with the prevailing narrative. And this happened to me several years ago. And when I look back, not just my campaign finance case, but some of these episodes that I thought were peculiar at the time, I didn't attach too much importance to them, in some ways because I thought, well, it doesn't make a whole lot of difference. And it didn't make a whole lot of difference for me. But when I see that these efforts are now being continued, they're being amplified, they're getting worse, they're becoming more systemic, and then we see kind of dark clouds on the horizon. And I'll explain what I mean. So first, a little bit about my experience. I walk into Chase. I've been banking at Chase. And the manager, whom I knew, says to me, Dinesh, it's very strange, but come over here. I want to show you something. And it turns out they closed my account. And he goes, I've been trying to call and find out because I know you, you're a good customer. And he goes, there's no explanation. It just comes from the central office, close this account, and dead silence. And I've been trying to get reasons and they won't give any reasons. And I was like, wow, this is really weird. Well, maybe it has something to do with my campaign finance case. Maybe the FBI obtained my bank records. It freaked out the people at Chase. And he goes, no, we have ways of dealing with all this kind of stuff. They often make, requests for records. We provide records where we legally have to. It's not a reason to close somebody's account, particularly if they then, continue to be a good customer and they are abiding, they essentially are, in my case, restored all my rights, even the pardon. And yet, no, I can't bank at Chase, not ever. And now, fast forward to the present, and here is this guy, Joseph Mercola, who's created this Mercola market. Now, this is a natural health food guy, but he's a credentialed doctor, and he's been a critic of the COVID vaccines. He's a critic of the efficacy of the vaccine. And guess what? He discovers that Chase not only shuts down his business bank account, but they shut down the account of the CEO and the CFO and his family members, including his spouse and his child. And he goes, I tried to find out the reason, and there was no reason. So he says, listen, and this was the case with me. I was like, well, this is absolutely crazy, but I'll just go across the street. And of course, I had other bank accounts, and now I've got bank accounts with multiple banks, no problem at all. And so in my case, there wasn't a heavy cost because I'm like, I just won't do business with Chase. But apparently in the case of Mercola Market, the CFO, a woman named Amalia Legaspi, has a husband in the Philippines. He suffers from dementia. She's trying to send funds to the guy. She can't do it because her account has been closed. And similarly, she's having problems with dealing with college payments for her son for the same reason. So my point is, this is a punitive step being taken by Chase. And again, for what reason? What job is it of Chase's to go after this guy because of his view on COVID vaccines? Is this a case, again, where the government is putting them up to it? Or is it the case where you just have a woke bank deciding, listen, let's just kick the people off whose opinions we don't like? Now, they're not doing it to every random individual, but they're doing it to high-profile people that they want to make an example of. That's, I think, that was going on here. And when Mercola tried to find out what's the reason, they said, for legal reasons, we really cannot tell you. Now, all of this is really significant because, first of all, it's not just Chase. It's been going on with other places, and it's going on in other parts of the world. There's been a scandal in Britain and also one in Canada. In Britain, Nigel Farage had his bank account closed by NatWest, and it turned out that there was a collaboration between the CEO of NatWest and government officials to get this guy essentially debanked. In Canada, you had the Freedom Convoy guys. These are truckers who are protesting against COVID policies. Many of them found that their bank accounts had been frozen or had been closed. So this is retaliation through the banking system for having unpopular opinions. And all of this, I think, is very relevant because think about where the Biden administration wants to go with this. They want to go toward a move in the direction of these central bank digital currencies. That's the CBDC. Now, the CBDC is something that is kind of being investigated by the Federal Reserve. They're sort of looking into it. But imagine if you had a national central bank digital currency transparency, well, then essentially you would be able to do to everyone what Chase is doing to isolated customers. So you can see a tremendous ramping up of the system of using the banking system. By the way, China has perfected this. China has created essentially a financial system where when you try to go to an amusement park, can't do it. You've been canceled, in effect. So you're canceled not just from social media, you're canceled from functioning as a normal individual in society. It's difficult for you to take vacations. It's difficult for you to gain access to and spend your own money. Are we there yet? Well, no, we aren't. But the reason I want to highlight these incidents is because they are worrying signposts as to where things could go. And that's the problem with what Chase did to me. That's the problem with what Chase is doing to Dr. Joseph Mercola. We need to stop this now before things get out of hand. Debbie and I started taking Relief Factor a couple of years ago. The difference we've seen in our joints the past 2 years, nothing short of amazing. Aches and pains are totally gone thanks to this 100% drug-free solution called Relief Factor. How does it work? Relief Factor supports your body's fight against inflammation. That's the source of aches and pains. The vast majority of people who try Relief Factor become regular customers. They order more because it works for them. Debbie's a true believer. She can now do the exercises, planks, and so on that for several years she wasn't able to do. So Relief Factor has been a big game changer for her, her aunt, other members of our family, Mike here in the studio, and for many other people. You too can benefit. Try it for yourself. Order the 3-week quick start for the discounted price of just $19.95. Go to relieffactor.com or call 800-4-RELIEF to find out more about this offer. The number again to call, 800-4-RELIEF, or go to relieffactor.com. Feel the difference.